Okay, guys, this is third lecture on design for X, unit number 5 of product design and development. Okay, in the first couple of lectures, we have talked about basically try to understand what is design for X, what is X. As I said, X is a basically for excellence, but we can say generally we use X for variables. So different types of things we can achieve while doing the design, like better design in manufacture, where design for assembly, design for safety, design for robustness. So there X can be n number of things, and you can do much better design if you consider all those things while you are working on the design. So we try to understand what is design for X. Then we have gone through the framework of what is design for X, and in that first two types were design for manufacturing and design for assembly. We talked about these two in the first two lectures. So today we'll try to go through the two more design for X, two more X's, that is design for robustness and design for safety. So what is robustness and what is safety, and how we can do better design with those perspectives. So we'll talk about those in today's lecture. Now, design for robustness. First, we need to understand what is robust. What is a robust person? A person who is strong and healthy is called robust person. Similarly, a system or a product is healthy and it is very strong. We call it a robust product. So, a design which is strong, which is healthy, which will not fail for different kinds of conditions, different variations, fluctuations. That design we call as a robust design. So, what is robust design? A design which is with the or with all whatever configurations we have, and the system does what it is supposed to do with the performance with the minimum deviation, with whatever materials are available. So a robust design is a design which is strong and healthy and which will work without failure with different variations or changes in the system. Okay, some simple example, like a car. If you take design a car, without much consideration, and say if you design it for say it work to be in India, but if you take it to the northern countries, where it's very cold, so your design should be such that even with the temperature of minus 20, minus 25, it should not fail. Means whatever systems you have, those are not failing. Those systems should not freeze and they will not cease to work. This should work. So while doing the design, and at the same time, if you take it to a desert with a very high, the temperature is very high, it should not the different parts, plastic parts, rubber parts should not melt. They should keep working. So like that, design, while doing that design, you have to consider all this variation of temperature. That is one aspect. Like another aspect is, if you if you try to purchase a used car in Pune and used car in Mumbai, the cost will vary, because the used car, say if I used it for 2 3 years, in Mumbai will have a less value comparatively, with one aspect of because of this, there is a humidity is very high, and because of it gets corroded because of this weather. Some parts get corroded, and so the people will not not interested in paying too much money for the used cars there. So the weather in Mumbai is different than Pune, so you have to worry about both these while doing the design. Like a simple kitchen, the trolleys, they have a different steel. Your vendor will suggest you to take a different steel, better steel in Mumbai, because the weather is humid there. So like that, while doing this design, you have to worry about robustness, that your system is healthy, strong, it will not fail with the variation. How variations flow through the system? As I said, variation can be variation of the temperature, variation of the force, fluctuations, variation of the weather, like humidity, temperature. There are so many, whatever parameters will vary, the system should be able to survive with those different variations in the parameters. Three ways to reduce variations: noise reducers, interaction effects, non-linear effects. So these are the things where we can reduce the variation. Noise reducer, like noise, there are different kinds of noises. You know, to make it more robust, you can try to reduce the noises. Have kind of dampers and try to reduce the noise. Interaction. If there are too many interacting parts, then obviously there will be friction, there will be heat creation, there will be noise. So try to reduce the interacting parts as much as possible, and non-linear effects. So these things, three things you can use to reduce the variation. Now comparison with this different kind of this thing with Taguchi inner and outer array. So this is one aspect we need to worry about while we are doing the design for the robustness. This slide talks about different things, how we can verify that okay, system is robust. Design confidence. Once the designer completes the design, he is very much confident that okay, whatever I had did, it will work in different kinds of scenarios, different kinds of variation. So confidence is one thing. Design review. Design is reviewed by other party. They, because while doing the review, they will see all different things are being considered, but different parameters are being considered. Quality assurance. Quality assurance means okay, whatever quality is expected from the product, it is assured. It is there in the product. So quality assurance is another aspect of this robustness verification. Data sheets, different data about your product, those are declared. So with the data sheets, those data are visible, and you can say the product is robust. Management reports for the management, because to have proper reports, you need to have a proper robust design. So if you have having the reports with all the proper data and everything, you are doing one thing for the robustness. Customer reports and norms, ISO norms and all those norms. If you are following those norms, then you can see your design is better, is in the robustness perspective. So design for the robustness, the system or is robust, it performs wide variety of conditions. As I said, with the different variations or different conditions, your system should be able to perform in the same way. It should not, your performance should not vary with the different changes in the different conditions. As an example, what is robust product? What is product which is not robust? I have taken a couple of examples. Take an example of pen. A pen which is like if you take a what pen, you will say okay, this is a good pen, that it writes properly, means the ink is flowing smoothly. It is ink is you can use the pen until all the ink is finished, and you are able to hold it properly. So these are the things which we say pen is good. But if the pen stops working after a few months, even though there is ink and it's not flowing smoothly, there is gaps in the writing, or you are not able to properly, so they are not able to hold it properly, you can say these are not robust design of your ring or your pen. A car that starts at -20, a car that does not start. So like if the temperature is very high or very low and your car does not start, that means its design was not robust. All things were not considered from the robustness perspective while doing the design. There can be many aspects, but this is one aspect. A vacuum cleaner that maintains suction levels, and vacuum cleaner that loses suction. Suction levels means your vacuum cleaner should be able to suck this much amount of air or dirt. So if it is not doing as per the expectation of the user, then you say it is not a robust design. TV that lasts 10 years with no need for repair, and TV that needs to be repair after 2 years. Like if you say take a Sony, like Sony is a kind of branded, or you can say a robust design, because if you take a Sony TV, you don't need to worry about it for another 10-20 years like that. Some people are using the Sony TV even after 20 years. So that's a robust design. But if you say take a couple of phones like some China made phones, they are if you use it for a few months, they will start not working properly. So like the robust design is a design where your product is working with a different variety of conditions, and it doesn't fail. The design doesn't fail when the conditions are changed. So if your product is strong, it's healthy, it's working with variety of conditions, then you can see your design is robust. So while doing the design, you need to worry, or you need to keep that those things in mind, that your conditions might change, your situation might be different, fluctuations might be there, there might be changes in the pressure or temperature and all that, and all with all those conditions, your product is working fine. And if it works fine, then you can say it's a robust design. Okay. Now we talked about what is a robust design and how to design your product for robustness. Now let's talk a little bit about safety. Now this is a very like important aspect, because robustness is more kind of reliability, or your product is strong and healthy. But safety is kind of for the user's perspective, your product or your design is safe. It is not going to failure of your product, or non-working, not even failure. It's sometimes without failure also, it might be unsafe for user to use it. Like say if your product is not having a casing, if there are having, so there are norms that if your product is having rotating parts, then it should have a casing. So if your casing is not there, then your product might not be safe. So it is working fine, it's not failing, but it is not safe for the user to use it, like that. So your design of safety is very important. While you are doing the design, you need to keep in mind all the safety things, all the safety criteria you need to worry about, like material. Like your material selection should be such a way that it is not unsafe, it is safe for the user to use. Like you are using a lead, it is not user to use like mercury, it is not safe for user to handle that. Or like if you are having material should be such, selection of materials should be such that even though the user get exposed to it, it should not be harmful. Ergonomic features, as I said, that's the next thing we'll be talking about in tomorrow's lecture, about the ergonomic design. How to for users comfort, or for your user to feel better, how we can do a better ergonomic design, like having a proper screen at the proper height, dimensions of this your workspace, or like how it, like corners are not there. So like that, all the ergonomic features we need to worry about while doing, we are thinking about the design for safety. Fail safe design. Fail safe design means if something goes wrong, if your product fails, it should not, user should not be harmed. As I said, wall is a kind of fail safe, means fail safe design means if the pressure is too high, because of the wall, if the pressure is released, and there is not kind of explosion. Like at home also we have a cooker has a wall. With the wall, if the pressure goes beyond certain limits, the wall is lifted and the steam comes out, and it is safe. Like that, in elevator we have brake, they have something called as brake. If the elevator is going beyond certain limit, with the speed, high speed, then the brakes will be automatically applied, and your elevator will be stopped. This is called as a fail safe design. That means if your product fails while doing the, while it's in working, then it will have some kind of fail safe design, so that it will not hamper, or the user's safety will not be hampered. Add productive devices, as I said, casing and all those things are productive devices. We should worry about those while we are doing the design. Use EPA and OSHA approved paints and materials. Like these are paints which are have not having a harmful chemicals and all that. So those chemicals, because those may not be good for the users, end user. So you need to worry, consider these while we are using these different kinds of paints and materials. So design for safety, you need to worry about all those things while you are doing the design for safety. Now, what things, or what are the main principles for a safe design? As a designer, we know very well that what are safety factor. We take a safety factor of 2, 3, 4, depending on what kind of applications are there. Design for an aeroplane will take more factor of safety, because it's kind of critical. Fatal means the end result is fatal. If your plane fails, it is fatal accident. So factor of safety is high in that case. Or if something is not moving, like a design of a floor mill, the factor of safety will not be that high. So factor of safety, you guys knows about what are factor of safety, and how we consider them. Now there is something called inherent safety. Inherent means it is inbuilt. You don't think about it separately. It's a part of the system. Like thickness of a pipe, having a high pressured this thing, high pressured steam. So that's the inherent safety, that there is a wall, like it's a you it is part of the system. It is inherent safety. Like it's not something you are putting extra safe. It's a part of, like say, gas cylinder. It should be properly sealed. Or CNG, we have to do a checking after 2 years, so that it is, you have to check whether it doesn't have any leaks and all that. So these are inherent, which are part of this system. Is the inherent safety. Multiple independent safety barriers. As I said, there are safety barriers. There are a pressure reducer, and different things are there, which are used. With those barriers, you are increasing the safety of the end user, right? So using those barriers, like you are trying to make sure that if something goes wrong, your design is safe. And negative feedback, these users are saying, okay, this thing is not good. Okay, so that means we need to improve there. So with the depending on the feedback from the users, with the negative feedback, you will try to improve, you will try to do better those that, and so that the design is better, is more safe, right? So these principles we need to think while we are doing the design for safety. Now this is an example I have taken a couple of examples. This is a safety wall. You guys know what is safety wall. It What it does basically, if the pressure in the pipe goes beyond certain limits, so it will simply either it will shut down the system, or it will bypass the this thing, and yes, your pressure will not go beyond certain limit. Because if you don't have these kind of safety things, then what will happen? Pressure will keep building up and it will explode. You will have a kind of fatal accident. So to avoid that, you will be using these kind of safety things. These are used everywhere, like your in steam engine, your turbine and all those. We have safety valves, so that with pressure goes beyond certain limits, it will those valves will come into action and they will release the pressure. So inherently safe design. User use safer materials by substitution, water rather than detergent. Like detergent is not a safe material. Why? Because it has a chemicals, and it will, if you use those in a pipes, it will keep corroding the pipes, and you will have a corroded pipes, and ultimately it will fail, and you might have a kind of failure of your system. So we try to use better, or better solutions, safer materials. Okay, minimize hazardous material and ensure to contain them properly. Like if you are, first of all, you should try to minimize the hazardous material means which are dangerous for use. Those materials you should try to use as minimum as possible. But if you need to use them, then you have to contain them properly. You have to store them properly, use them properly, discard them properly. So all those things you need to worry about while we are doing the design for safety design. Use proper signs and switches, like kill switches. Kill switches means what? Proper signs means all the, if you see in a theaters, they have a signs, exits and all that. So those are for the safety. So all proper signs should be there, that your helmet should be worn, like, and there should be switches. Means if something goes wrong, at different places there should be different switches, like switches, intermediate switches or kill switches. Like if you switch off those things, the whole system is switched off. So you should have those kind of systems in place for the better safety. Use sensors and controls to accommodate accidental overload. So if something by mistake it is overloaded, or if you, like, say, electronic equipment, if there is too much current is flowing because of sudden peak, you should have some kind of control or sensor, so that your system will switch it off automatically. Similarly, if the pressure is too high, then you should have a sensors. Like in car we have a sensor of temperature. If the temperature of engine say by chance, if your fluid is leaked, and if your temperature goes up for the engine, then you should stop, try to let the engine cool, and then you should start it again. uh, so basically that sensor helps us with the temperature of the engine, because if too high hot engine will jam it. Okay, so use adequate safety factor in your design. We know about it while we are doing the design. We use the different factor of safety depending on different applications. Uh, some applications have higher factor of safety. As I said, the design of plane, different parts of plane will have better safety factor of safety. Some parts which are not moving have less factor of safety. Simpler the design, safer, more reliability. As I said, if there are too many parts, too complicated design, then design is not safe. So simple the design, it is better design and more reliable. Means the chances of failure of the design are very less. So this way, you need to consider all those things while we are doing a safe design. So safe design is a design which will, which will not fail, and even though it fails, it will not have kind of fatal impact on the user, and user is always at the center of the design. Okay, now this is some of the examples I have taken. Cannot operate a microwave oven if the door is open. So it's oven. If the door is open, you cannot start the oven. So door must be closed to to operate it, right? So this is one kind of fail-safe design. Means without this will not work. Like circuit breakers are there. If some circuit, if something goes wrong, the circuit will break, and this thing will not work. Like railroad semaphores and elevator brakes. I took the example of elevator brakes. This is very old design it is shown, but nowadays highly sophisticated brakes are there. So if your elevator is going beyond certain speed, then the brakes will automatically apply and the elevator will stop. So like this, we need to keep this fail-safe design always in mind. Your design is always safe. It is not going to impact the user, and he or she is always safe while using your product. So important thing is the user and the safety of the user.